Welcome back to the Angry Man podcast with Jason and Greg. So, as you guys can see, I'm not at my normal location for recording. I'm traveling for business this week, but I did want to make sure that I got with you all to talk a little bit about this whole situation with Canelo Alvarez and the rumors that are currently out there on social media. Now, we know that it's been in the works for several weeks now, a Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford fight. Rumor has it that Canelo is also in negotiations to face Jake Paul. Now, ordinarily on this channel, I would never address any rumors associated with Jake Paul in any fighter because I feel that although Jake Paul is doing something that would be, I guess, equivalent to boxing, it's not really boxing, right? It's entertainment, like it's sports entertainment. He's not a serious boxer. He's not a contender. He's not a champion. So I take what Jake Paul does and I put it in its own separate category or bracket. But in this particular case, because it's tied to Canelo Alvarez and because of a conversation that I had, I would say about 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that, it's possible that this is true. Um, and I was just having a conversation with someone who's in the sport of boxing, and they made a comment about something that could be on the horizon that fight fans would not be necessarily thrilled about. It would get mixed reactions, but the business associated with it would be undeniable. And when this individual made that statement, the first thing that popped into my mind was Jake Paul versus Canelo Alvarez, or possibly Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul, something like that, like something out of the ordinary, um, or maybe even Ryan Garcia versus Jake Paul, just something that I knew was going to be out of the ordinary. And so when I heard that, and now I'm seeing these rumors online, I think it's a possibility. This may have been what this individual was referring to. If Canelo Alvarez decides that he's going to face Jake Paul in, let's call it May or so, which, there have been also rumors that he would forego any fight in May. But let's say if he does do that and then turns around and fights Terence Crawford, you're now fighting a guy who I would deem as an entertainer. And then you're fighting, although a great fighter in this generation, you're fighting a guy that you're pulling up essentially three weight classes because he's only fought one time at 154 pounds. So you have to question then what is Canelo, what is Canelo's ultimate goal over the next 2 to 3 years? Because I mean, he's 34 years old. I don't expect him to be in the fight game for much longer. Had this been a situation where Canelo Alvarez was, let's call it 35, 36, and we know that the end is near, I wouldn't have any issues with either one of these fights. And I know some people don't have an issue with the Terence Crawford fight. I've never been in favor of the Crawford fight because he's moving up. But if Canelo was doing this and he was doing it at the tail end of his career to go ahead and pad his pockets and go ahead and move on out the sport, no issue with it. Fine. I understand it. But he's still a champion at 168 pounds, and now you're going to fight an entertainer. If this is true, you're going to fight an entertainer, and then you're going to fight Crawford, who's moving up three weight classes. And we know that those negotiations are true. He's going out pretty weak. He's going out pretty weak. I've always thought very highly of Canelo in terms of his skills. I think Canelo is a highly skilled fighter. I think his IQ is underrated. I think his skill set is underrated. I think he learned a lot when he faced Floyd Mayweather. You can see the changes in his style after he faced Floyd. So I have a lot of respect for Canelo in terms of his abilities in the ring. But some of the things he's done outside of the ring over, I would say, the last 3 or 4 years, I've had an issue with. Um, Kovalevs of the world, the Billy Joe Saunders of the world, those types of fights just have not been intriguing fights. Now, I get it. He unified 168 pounds. Had he done that and then faced David Benavidez, no comments for me. But he didn't face David Benavidez, and David had to move up to 175 pounds to find those challenges, and hopefully he'll get into the ring with the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol soon. But Canelo didn't do that, right? He fought, Kovalev, who we knew was over the hill at that point. He fought Bivol, but I think Bivol was a situation that was a miscalculation. Um, so I don't like, I'm not a fan of the Terence Crawford fight, really. I'm 100% not a fan of the Jake Paul situation. I think that that's something that should be trashed, and he should never even think about again unless it's a situation where he knows he's on the tail end of his career and he's done, and he's no longer going to fight competitively. And it almost suggests right now that Canelo is telling us that because he's not fighting. I mean, his last two fights, Berlanga, Munguia, we knew what was going to happen in those fights. And if the next two are Jake Paul and Terence Crawford, he's basically telling us that he's no longer fighting competitively. And that's a problem. That really is a problem because he's holding up that weight class. And I would just prefer that he allow that weight class to move on so that we can see what new stars, if any, rise to the top in that particular division. So it's not the way that you want to go out. If I was Canelo Alvarez, I would just officially retire, give up those belts, and then do this kind of stuff. And I don't think anybody would have an issue with it. But holding on to those titles, pretending to still be a serious fighter when you're fighting the likes of these individuals, and now your next two opponents could potentially be, we know one of them is going to be Terence Crawford, it seems like, right? It seems like there's a high probability of that. And then um, facing somebody like Jay Paul, if true, that's one that's hard to swallow, real hard to swallow. But I will say this: in the event that he fights Jake Paul, and then subsequent to that he fights Terence Crawford, and he puts Crawford in the dirt, from my perspective, all will be forgiven. All will be forgiven. I will forgive him if he puts Crawford in the dirt because that's what Crawford fans deserve. Yeah, I said it. So, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you believe that Canelo Alvarez is truly negotiating a fight with Jake Paul? I'm really hoping that it's not true. I ordinarily wouldn't have done this video, but just based off of that conversation that I had a few weeks ago, this could have been what this person was alluding to, that there was a possibility that there was no names, there was no specific fights that were relayed to me. It was just a comment that was made. And that's the reason why I woke up this morning thinking, you know what? This could in fact be real. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast in Sports Media, and I am out.